Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be talking about the Beatles' White Album and why I think it's so brilliant. Now, this is kind of a weird topic. Way back when I started my channel, I think there's some videos, I don't remember if I did a video ranking every song or what I really did, or if I did a review of the album. I don't really remember because it's been so long that I did make some Beatles videos ever since way back when I started my channel. Now, I've been a fan of the Beatles since I was about 12. The Beatles were, in my childhood before that. One of the few, Christian or classical bands that I remember being played in my childhood. The White Album was one of those albums. Now, I don't remember it, in its entirety or anything. I don't think my parents played all of the songs around me. There is good reason for that, but, I mainly remember listening to it and laughing, and when I was about 7 saying, wait, the Beatles were British? Because I was this 7-year-old idiot who thought everyone was American. I don't know why. But anyways, so I've been a huge fan of the Beatles since I was 12. My favorite album was Sgt. Pepper's. It's always been Sgt. Pepper's. I think the album is absolutely fucking fantastic. I could go on a huge, tangent about why I love Sgt. Pepper's, but I feel like that should be a separate video entirely. So, the White Album actually took me a while to, get into. I was, 14, 15, I remember I listened to it, and I liked some of the songs, but I was just kind of, didn't really get the White Album at all. I don't know. I just, it didn't click with me as a cohesive project. And whenever I'm on a long road trip nowadays, I end up listening to the White Album because I did eventually, come around to it, and I think I appreciate it a little bit more every time I hear it. Now, not to say that all of the songs are good. That is absolutely not true. Literally not all of the songs are good. There are bad songs on this album. But I kind of wouldn't want it any other way. This is kind of what makes the album tick, is just the sheer insanity of it. And I don't really think I realized what made this album tick until I was a bit older. And, once I kind of, realized all of that, I was able to kind of put together some thoughts. So, the thing about Sgt. Pepper's was that it was a huge success. It was, they had stopped touring at that point. They were let's go in the studio, make something new, unique, innovative. The whole album is a story. It's a concept of this band performing. You've got a lot of brass and horns and strings, this types of instruments on that album. A lot of heavy, dense production, layered tracking, that kind of thing. Obviously the singles from around that time, you got Strawberry Fields Forever was the first single, even though that was not on the album. That same kind of production stuff, Day in the Life, which is my favorite song of all time, by the way. But Sgt. Pepper's as an album, it just works really well. And having the whole, nature of it being, a live show, where it's, all the songs, and then you get the thing, and then Day in the Life being, the encore, that's, the greatest song ever written. That works so well, and of course, I love Sgt. Pepper. I knew what made Sgt. Pepper tick. I've loved that album. I remember the 50th anniversary of Sgt. Pepper. I have the 50th anniversary CD. I have a book. I have a Sgt. Pepper poster. I have a t-shirt. I'm obsessed. But looking back, when I finally kind of listened to the White Album, it was very different from me. That Sgt. Pepper, I guess, has a lot of very dense, heavy kind of production, and the White Album is a lot more stripped back and kind of standard rock and roll instruments, as opposed to, I said, Sgt. Pepper, I got a lot of horns, a lot of strings, a lot of other instruments that you wouldn't really always hear in rock, in addition to your guitars, your drums, bass, all that kind of stuff. But going on to the White Album, a lot of these songs were written on acoustic instruments in India, when the Beatles were in India. Another thing that I have heard is some of the old outtakes or old cuts of some of the songs, and I just think that gives another layer of helping understand what makes these songs tick. And I think that's something that with the outtakes and all that, you can kind of see where the songs originated, what kind of songs were cut, which I think is interesting to see. Just outtakes from studio sessions. We had a bunch of those on the Beatles Anthology 3. There's even more of them on the 50th anniversary edition. I have this on Spotify here. This is absolutely enormous. how many outtakes there are. Anyways, so I do find that to be a really interesting piece of history. So, I thought this album, you know, compared to Sgt. Pepper, was a lot more like rock and roll kind of standard instruments. Stuff was written on acoustic instruments, you know, they put them in the studio, they electrified them up, whatever, but they didn't really do a lot of like strings or any other kind of like instruments like that like they had on Sgt. Pepper's. And a lot of these songs, in some ways, feel a lot more real and honest, which is something that I like a lot. Whereas, you know, with the Sgt. Pepper, it's kind of it's like a grand story, it's a grand live show. And there's some great stuff, but, like, the White Album, I think, is probably the most real and honest I've heard the Beatles as a band. Besides maybe, like, Rubber Soul, but even then, Rubber Soul's more, like, simple kind of love songs and stuff. This album deals with a lot of topics while also having plenty of songs that are just funny or nonsensical. You know, I think the sheer randomness of the album, like, in terms of content, you know, it's not like the earlier albums where they were all, like, kind of working together, harmonizing, writing together. This is more like each member kind of has their own songs and they kind of, like, swap out. Mainly Lennon and McCartney kind of swap out songs. Harrison has a few in there. Starr has, like, 2 songs that he sings, 1 that he wrote. And it just kind of, like, they kind of swap out the songs as they go through. So, that's kind of, you know, they kind of did that for, like, Sgt. Pepper as well, and Revolver to a lesser extent, but this is an album where I really see that, where it almost feels like they were, like, solo tracks that the other band members played on. But that makes the album so interesting, because you've got such a difference between, like, Lennon and McCartney's writing styles and the kind of songs that they were making at the time. And, you know, this kind of thing did eventually lead to the Beatles breaking up. It was eventually, you know, just a creative difference that they couldn't resolve. And I know people like to complain about the Beatles breaking up, but I have 2 things to say about, 3 things actually, because 1, stop blaming Yoko Ono, that's so stupid. Like, you always blame the woman. That's all I'm gonna say on that. 2 is that Let It Be is not a good album, and if they were just gonna keep making content like that, they should have broken up, and that's why they broke up. And 3, Abbey Road is the perfect ending to the Beatles saga, and is also a progenitor of progressive rock, in my opinion. But that's also a topic for another video. So, the White Album. I'm gonna dive into this a bit track by track, just to kind of like go through what I like, what I don't like, and how this works. So this is a double album. There's about 30 songs. There are 4 sides to this album. Whitney were playing it on vinyl, 2 discs if it's a CD, and if it's digital, then it's just all in one thing. So, without further ado, I'm gonna dive straight into this. So the first song is Back in the USSR, which is a really funny title, and this is McCartney's song. It's basically a parody of Chuck Berry and the Beach Boys. The kind of sound is a bit of a parody of the Beach Boys. Back in the USA was a Chuck Berry song, kind of goes back with that, and it's a song from a perspective of somebody getting back to the USSR, and it's just like a really funny kind of comedy. It's really well written, and more importantly, the song just slaps. Again, I loved Sgt. Pepper. I loved, like, those singles and stuff, but after, you know, it's kind of nice to come back down to earth with just some, like, sheer shredding rock and roll after all the, like, grandiosity of those albums, Magical Mystery Tour and all that. You know, coming back down to earth a bit with some, you know, like, rock and roll. You get the plane taking off and landing, which is just a great, like, sound effect. One of the best things about the album is transitions, which goes into Dear Prudence, which is one of the best songs on the album, in my opinion. It's extremely well produced. It's just got this, like, really relaxing vibe to it. The way John Lennon sings, I honestly used to have a crush on him and his voice. Like, that sounds so weird, but, like, it's something that, you know, it's just extremely soothing, and it's just a very, very relaxing song. And again, the other members just add, like, really great backing vocals to it, and it may be my favorite song on the album, but that's hard because there are several really great songs on this album that I really love. And the next song is Glass Onion, which is just a really kind of short, simple song. It's basically just John Lennon making, like parodying the Beatles' other songs and kind of poking fun at some of the rumors that were going around, like Paul being dead and all that stuff. Just kind of, like, poking fun at that. It's inessential, but it sounds good, and it's fine, and it goes there. Then we have Obla Oblada, and you're probably expecting me to shred into this song because most people seem to do that, and I don't even think I realized that this song was so hated until, you know, I was on the internet more and I just saw people saying, oh, it's widely considered the Beatles' worst song, and I'm like, really? So, I know that, you know, for the record, like, John Lennon hated this song. It's like, oh, it's Paul's granny music and all this crap, and I totally understand why he would feel that way. However, I've always enjoyed this song. I do have a very nostalgic memory of at camp we had a music camp. We had art, and then we had like music, and the one lady who was teaching music had us all doing singing Obla Oblada. So I do have that like very nostalgic memory from being 6 or 7 and singing. My age group would sing the chorus, the older kids would sing the verses. I just have this like memory of that. I didn't know it was a Beatles song. I didn't know anything about the song. I just was told to sing it. I just kind of think that like, and you know, as I got older, as I like knew what the song was and like appreciated it, I've always, you know, I think the song is fun. I mean, I understand why people like would hate it or why it could be annoying for some people, but I personally think the song is fun and really cute, and I can't help but sing along to it. I know a lot of people don't like the song, but like, I've gone through a list in my head, and this is something that I'll go over at the end of the video, is if I could make this a single album, what songs would I keep? And I would honestly keep Obla Oblada. I like it that much. And, you know, I think most of the albums, with the exception of Abbey Road, which, again, another video, but, you know, should have at least one, like, goofy song. I don't think Yellow Submarine fits on Revolver at all, but, I mean, something like When I'm 64 on Sgt. Pepper's works really well. And I do think all the albums should have at least one kind of light, kind of silly song on them. Going from there is Wild Honey Pie, which is a 50-second interlude, where they just say the words honey pie. It's not good, but it's a 50-second interlude. I don't think this counts as a real song. And then you've got this like really nice kind of like bass plucking that like transitions the song into Continuing Story of Bungalow Bill, which is a song that I do not like. It's bad. I see what John Lennon was going for, trying to write about like how you know, children's TV was like glorifying violence or hunting or that kind of thing, and you know, he was satirizing that, and I get what he's doing, but I just, the song is annoying. It's not pleasant to listen to at all, and I get that that's kind of the point, but it's like, it's supposed to be a sing-along, but it's annoying as hell. I think pretty much all the hate that Obla Oblada gets should be directed towards Continuing Story of Bungalow Bill. The song is just annoying as hell. The chorus particularly, the verses, he's just doing this like stupid, like insulting satire kind of voice, which is whatever. The chorus is just god-awful. It's so annoying. But I mean, like I said, even the bad songs on this album, I would never listen to them out of context of the album, but within the album, it still makes the album what it is, and it balances it in a way. Moving on from there is While My Guitar Gently Weeps, which, you know, one of the greatest songs of all time. I don't think there's any dispute about that. You got Eric Clapton playing. You got George Harrison just, you know, writing this song. You know, it's very, his lyrics tend to be very vague and very, like, grand sounding, like, With You Without You on Sgt. Pepper's, he's like, you're very small and life goes on within you or without you, and that's the kind of thing, like, you know, I'm just sitting here playing my guitar and all this stuff is going on around me, and I really like that. What I don't like is the lyric about the floor needing sweeping. That's just like, I needed something to rhyme it, I looked at the floor, which is like really, really bad writing, but other than that, it's got this really kind of mystical vibe to it, and again, the song just sounds fantastic. I don't even know, like, I don't think I can really say anything about While My Guitar Gently Weeps that hasn't already been said. Moving on into that is Happiness is a Warm Gun, which is basically this 3-part song. John Lennon wrote the song. Paul McCartney, I think, came up with the title. He found the title off some American advertisement for a gun. At least that's what I heard. Anyway, This whole thing is really interesting. This is a song that, you know, there's 3 sections to it, and the middle section was clearly written first, because I've heard, like, a very early demo of the song where that was all that he had, was the I Need to Fix 'Cause I'm Going Down part. That was all that he had. And you know, was able to work that into a full song, which is it's very ambitious. It's a 3-part kind of song. It's almost like 3 different songs into one. Which again is really, really ambitious, and it's kind of like, you know, a progenitor of what they did on Abbey Road, where it was like a bunch of songs, like a bunch of short songs that ran together. But this is like all one song, there's just a lot of like really, it just kind of shows the brilliance of John Lennon's writing in the first section, just like the lyrics that don't really make any sense, but they just sound good. It's kind of got that Lewis Carroll-esque like rhyme scheme and the kind of way the word sounds, and it just sounds good. It's nonsense, but it it works so well, and he absolutely sells that kind of thing. It starts out kind of low-key, and then gets more intense, and then gets this like super grungy, kind of bluesy guitar that comes cutting in. I love that. And then the I Need a Fix Because I'm Going Down part, and Mother Superior Jump the Gun, which I have no idea what that means. But you know, based on that, like, I Need a Fix part, you know, when I kind of first heard this song, I kind of thought it was about drugs, and then we move into the last section, and you got some, which I do think is the worst section. I like the main part, which is like the chorus. I hate the doo-wop backing vocals from the other members. I'm sorry, I don't like that. But of course, John Lennon, he sounds amazing on this, and goes into the end and even has that like high note at the end, which I'm kind of leaving out the fact that this song is about being horny and then finally getting it, and like I don't like have anything else to say about like that. It's not about drugs, at least from what I can tell. It's pretty clear, and the song is about sex, and that's how the first side ends, is that way. So then we go on to the second side, which starts off with this really pretty piano, and one of the few times we hear strings on the album. This is a McCartney song. It's called Martha, My Dear. It's just a really cute little love song. Apparently he wrote it about his dog, which is pretty wholesome, if you ask me. Apparently Jet by Wings was also written about another dog that Paul McCartney had. So what is it with Paul McCartney and writing about his dogs? Anyway, moving on from there, the next song is I'm So Tired, which is a song that I don't think gets enough credit. I know the joke is like, oh, writing songs about being tired, or writing songs about being bored. First of all, you can make a brilliant song out of being bored. Smells Like Teen Spirit is basically a song about being bored. However, I actually, this is gonna sound really strange, but you kind of hear me out on this one. I actually think the song is about depression, and it's got this like sense of like insomnia due to like racing thoughts, but then also it's not just like tired on a level of I'm not sleeping well. It's tired on a level of like desperation, and a level of like I'm tired, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And to me, that's what I see. She's like, I'm in love, but I don't know what to do. Like, do I call you? Do I not? I can't sleep. Just like that kind of thing. I've been away, you know, I should be resting on my vacation, but I feel like terrible. And this whole thing, I love the part where he starts smoking and then curses Sir Walter Raleigh for, of course, bringing tobacco to England. This is so amazing. And you can really hear the kind of desperation, the kind of sense in his voice. You know, the first song we ever heard like that was Help. Back in the day, it was like, oh, writing all these cute songs. And then John Lennon was like, I'm going to write a song that's like desperate and, hey, I need help. And then people didn't like it. And they were like, this is stupid. By the way, Help is amazing. Going, you know, into this, I personally can see, and I feel like this song is about depression. It's not the song that most directly tackles the topic, but we'll get to that. The next song is Blackbird, which is amazing. We all know it's this great little acoustic song, sung by Paul McCartney. It is actually about civil rights, which I did not know for a long time, but, you know, I heard that, and I definitely hear it. And it's just this really beautiful song that absolutely deserves to be up there with some of the Beatles' best songs. From there we get Piggies, which is George Harrison satirizing police and authority figures, I guess, and I don't know about this song. It starts off with a harpsichord and then has George Harrison doing this funny voice. The writing's clever, it's kind of playful. It's definitely not digging in as hard as, like, Pink Floyd's Pigs, which, you know, is just, you know, just non-stop, just complete. You know, Roger Waters is just like the most depressing person on the universe. I didn't say he was depressed, I said he was depressing. But that's also a topic for another time. But George Harrison, he kind of does this playful thing. I don't mind the song. I think it's a lot better of a satire song than Bungalow Bill. Still not something that I really love to listen to. Then we get Rocky Raccoon, which, you know, is a joke. It's basically a joke song, I guess. I'm not really sure what the point of this song is. It starts off with Paul McCartney doing this really funny Southern American accent, and then he goes into his normal voice, and it's just like hillbilly kind of story, and it's just like, it feels like a joke song, but it's fun. I like it. It's cute. The song is funny, if nothing else. I do find it entertaining. The next track is Don't Pass Me By, which is the only song that Ringo wrote for this album. He sings it as well, and I'm sorry, this song is also just really bad. It's just got this, like, you've got this electric violin over this, like, really kind of stilted percussion, and the whole thing just sounds just like a bunch of noise. And it sounds like, again, he's kind of like doing the Paul thing. He's trying to put on a hillbilly voice, but it's kind of like that's his real voice. And not only is his writing bad, his singing on this, oh my god, he just has no filter. He's just belting out every line, but he's terrible at it. So it just sounds like, I get the earnestness that he's going for, but I just don't think it sounds good. And I have to say, I'm sorry, of course, Ringo, Ringo's a great drummer, all that. He definitely contributed to this album, but in terms of the songs that he sang on this album, we'll get to it. But yeah, I cannot say I'm a fan of it. But again, it is entertaining. It fits well in the album. Then we have one of the strangest songs, which is Why Don't We Do It in the Road. This song is just, it's like a minute and a half long. It's got the standard blues progression. That's the only line, other than No One Will Be Watching Us, Why Don't We Do It in the Road. Doing it in the road is exactly what you think it means. It was just Paul and Ringo. The entire song is just Paul putting on funny voices over a piano line and some drumming in the background. That's literally it. It's such a weird thing that exists, and like, moments like this are why the White Album is secretly brilliant to me. Like, it's so stupid, but it's so, just like, it fits so well into this, like, whole cohesive thing. It should not fit, it should not be there, but it's just, like, such a weird thing. You're just shaking your head at it the whole time. You're like, this is hilarious. And right when the album's getting a little too whack, we get something to bring us down to earth, which is this really sweet love song called I Will. It's just this really short, simple, sweet love song. And then for the side two closer is Julia. Now this song is really beautiful. I love, John Lennon. He does the very gentle thing. It's a very gentle acoustic song, and I love it. It's really great. However, I am a little confused about the rating, because he keeps talking about the Ocean Child and all of that. He's obviously referring to Yoko Ono, but Julia, was his mother's name, which I'm not really sure, where he's kind of going with that exactly, but it is, he's mixing up his, like, metaphors a bit, but I do love it. It's just a really sincere song, and it's just really beautiful song. So then we get on to side 3, the second disc, or the second album, if you're playing the album physically. This kicks off with Birthday, which is a really fun song. I think we can officially say it replaces any generic happy birthday song. That this song kicks ass. It rollicks, it sounds absolutely fun, it is incredibly entertaining. Apparently Ringo was away when this was recorded, and John, Paul, and George just kind of all got together in the studio one night, and they were just, I don't know if they were drunk or just having fun, whatever's going on. There's some party, and then they just all got together, and one of the members came up with this really sick riff, and then they all just started making up stupid lyrics around it. Yoko Ono and Patty Harrison do backing vocals at the one point, and it's just this very kind of silly kind of song. Again, got that, like, more straight edge, kind of more 50s style rock and roll going on, which is something that I see a lot of appreciation for in this album and on Abbey Road a bit. Which, compared to Sgt. Pepper, is a very different sound, but it's nice to come down back to earth. Then we get the second track on this side, which is another song that I think is really underrated, is Your Blues, and this is a song that, I was saying I'm so tired. I think that I'm so tired is about depression. Your Blues is definitely about depression. The only thing I've really heard about the development of the song was, he was kind of, like, making fun of, I'm gonna make a blues song, kind of making fun of all the, like, blues revival and white people making blues, but he masquerades it as satire. He's like, oh, this song's funny, like, I'm making fun of this shit, but the way that it is delivered, the way that it is, I can absolutely tell it's coming from a genuinely dark place, and the song is pretty dark, there's just a lot of elements of, I mean, literally, the chorus, literally the chorus is, I'm lonely, I want to die, if I ain't dead already, going, you know the reason why. Like, what the fuck? Like, that is some dark shit. And then, getting into, you know, like, you know, he kind of masquerades that as, oh, it's satire, I'm making fun of, like, I'm making, like, the most generic blues lyrics you could possibly come up with, but it's, like, it's actually coming from a place of real desperation. Because as the song goes on, because, you know, at first you can kind of say, oh, this is, like, satire, right? But as the song goes on, there's some really great writing parts. You've got the line, my mother was of the sky, my father was of the earth, and I am of the universe, and you know what it's worth. Just the reason I'm talking about songs like this more than I'm talking about, like, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, or some of the songs that I do think are better, is because those songs have been talked about to death. I'm kind of talking about the songs that I don't see get as much praise or attention. But Your Blues, this song is just, the way he delivers, it's one of his best performances. He just goes in there and just rips, with his voice, and I love that you've got some, like, very grotesque imagery in there, too. The eagle picks my eye, the worm, he licks my bone. He goes through this whole thing, and it's just this whole thing, and then before, you know, you get this part where he's, like, feels so suicidal, even hate my rock and roll, and that's, like, the part where, like, that cements it for me. I was like, okay, this is not a joke anymore, this is, like, fucking serious, because that is, like, a moment of, like, whether or not the rest of the song is supposed to be a joke, whether or not, you know, put all that aside, that is a moment which is, like, the most true thing. As someone who has struggled with depression, it's a sense of, like, you know, the things that you love or that usually make you happy just have, like, no meaning anymore, or you don't have any motivation to do things that you would normally find fun or find cathartic, and that's like what that line represents to me, which is why I think this song is secretly brilliant. I don't see enough people give it attention. Then we get this really sick solo instrumental breakdown, you know, and at the end, the part where, like, the main riff comes back, but it's supposed to be, like, he's not talking, but, like, they tried to erase it from the tape, and you can still hear his voice in the background, and it is, like, one of those things which I'm pretty sure was just, like, a happy accident, and it sounds amazing. And I mean, is it, like, is it his ghost after he died, or, like, what is it? It's so cool. It is this, like, happy accident of sound that, you know, just happened, and there's another instance of that coming up on this side, and things like that make this album so brilliant, that they just were, like, experimenting and just were like, oh, that sounds cool, let's leave it in. And this is easily the most experimental record the Beatles ever made. I say that, but I mean, Sgt. Pepper's was also, like, really experimental in its own right, so I give credit where credit is due. But this album, they were on their own label for the first time ever. They just pushed the boundary. They just tried everything. This album, I guess Sgt. Pepper was, like, one big experiment. This is a bunch of small experiments. And they basically tried everything with this album. And again, Your Blues is just a song that I just absolutely love. It is a dark song, and it also just sounds awesome, like, all the guitars and everything. Of course, the studio version is great. There's a live version with John Lennon, Eric Clapton, and a couple other like, rock stars at the time. That's really good as well. You can find it on YouTube. Just really great stuff. So moving on from there is Mother Nature's Son, which is just this really just innocuous little acoustic ballad from McCartney. It's nice, it's pleasant, but, you know, when you have songs like Blackbird and Julia, I don't really feel there's any need for this. It does fit the mood in the album, but, you know, if you were finding what songs to cut from the album, which I will get to. Next up is Everybody's Got Something to Hide Except for Me and My Monkey, which is one of the weirdest titles. I read what the song's about, and it's actually about Yoko. Yoko's the monkey. I don't know. John was talking about how, you know, people would talk to them, and I don't know, he's saying, like, we have nothing to hide, but why does he call his love interest a monkey? I don't get that. Outside of that, I get the impression that this song is basically making fun of George Harrison because of all the lyrics, like, the deeper you go, the higher you fly. Like, it's pseudo-deep. Like, how George's lyrics are very vague, but they're, like, pseudo-deep. John's, like, making fun of those, like, pseudo-deep lyrics, and it's just, like, making stupid ones. And I think that's kind of funny. One of the things about this album is just them taking jabs at each other. you just hear the members making jabs at each other. They fucking hated each other at this point, and it's genuinely, like, I don't want to say it's entertaining, but it enhances the album. Something like Fleetwood Mac's Rumors is an album where there were two couples in the group that were breaking up, and, there was a lot of anger there and a lot of resentment, but when they came together and made that album, it was one of the best albums ever made. Going back, into the album, the next song, I was just saying about Everybody's Got Something to Hide. That song is just, it sounds really nice, the guitar is cool, it sounds good. Moving on to Sexy Sadie, I don't really like the song that much. This is John making fun of the Maharishi, so, again, we've got more, I'm gonna make fun of George Harrison and then make fun of George Harrison's idol. The fact that those two songs are back-to-back does feel fitting. Again, what was the thing with monkeys on this album? Because, I didn't mention earlier that Why Don't We Do It in the Road was actually inspired by Paul seeing monkeys doing it in the road, and I don't even know, dude. All I can really say is, I guess this album really is monkey business. But, Sexy Sadie, John's performance is okay. His falsetto is really great. I like the piano stuff is okay. Again, I hate the doo-wop backing vocals, and just the way the song presents itself. It's clearly, making fun of someone. It's satire, which I like it better than Continuing Story of Bungalow Bill, for instance, because the song actually is, cohesive, and it doesn't sound super grating. Moving on from there, Helter Skelter. This is one of the first, metal-adjacent songs to ever exist, as far as I know. And I know people like to kind of, say, the Beatles are overrated, and I understand that, when people say that, or when they try to be like, other bands did things that were influential too, and I completely agree. However, I feel like a lot of people take away from how influential the Beatles really were, and, this is just an example of that. And this is a great song. It's about a whirlwind of a relationship. Paul McCartney just absolutely rips. His voice is really good. And, just the song itself is just absolutely kick-ass. You get to the end of it, you get this, instrumental breakdown, and then that part plays in reverse, which, again, I think it was one of the first times, they had done that. They had, played a song in reverse. The first time I actually know was the ending of Rain, back in '66, but this song, they really ran with it, and, at the end you've got, again, a great transition, the iconic line, Ringo yelling, "I've got blisters on my fingers!" It's so funny. I just love that. He's like, "I'm drumming so hard that I've got blisters on my fingers." That is just so, real. And then, of course, it goes into Long, 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 which is, this Harrison Penn song. It took a while for this song to really grow on me, but I think it's actually really good. Especially in the remixed version from 2018, you can actually hear his vocals a lot more clearly. But the original version has a lot of reverb. It sounds very, kind of in a tunnel almost, or in water. But it's kind of a really cool sound. And, this is just a really nice song that George Harrison wrote. At the end, you've got this weird sound effect, which is apparently a wine bottle falling near the recording thing. That was an accident, and they just thought it was cool when they left it in. Goes on to side 4, which in my opinion is the weakest side, but again, has a ton of, it deserves credit. So we've got Revolution 1, which is just a slowed down, kind of bluesy version of Revolution, which was a single. I think the original Revolution is really great. It's a kick-ass song. It's a song, talking about, kind of addressing the people who were taking things too far, who are like, you're supposed to be anti-war, you're supposed to be, peace protesters, but then they're getting violent, they're taking things too far, and that's kind of, what Lennon's addressing on the original Revolution, but he's, rightfully pissed, saying, hey, guys, calm the fuck down, I get this is serious, but please stop destroying things, I don't know, that song is, rightfully pissed. But then, this is the Stoners version of that. It's still a well-written song, but I just, I don't know, man. I don't know. Apparently, this was an earlier take, and, they just kind of, left this, and they were gonna have, some more, instrumental stuff at the end. A lot of the ideas that were originally gonna be in the album version ended up kind of ending up in Revolution 9, which we will get to. And I think this version is fine. It's not the better version of Revolution. They called it Revolution 1. I don't know why. I don't know where Revolution 2 through 8 are. We move on to Honey Pie, which again, the second in the Honey Pie saga, I guess. I don't really know what's going on. We had Wild Honey Pie on the first side, now we have Honey Pie. This is just kind of like a cute little song from Paul McCartney. He's got the kind of like vaudeville voice on early on, and you know, it's just a song about this actress or whatever, and like it's fine, it's cute, it's just really inessential to the album. Moving on is Savoy Truffle, which really kick-ass song, one of the few songs to like feature a full-on brass band. The keyboard intro is really cool. This was when keyboards were still kind of new in rock. Keyboard intro is really, really cool, and George Harrison wrote this song. Sounds is absolutely scathing, and I'm like, what the heck? And apparently, this is the most hilarious thing to me, that, you know, he and Clapton were friends at the time, and apparently Clapton liked eating sweets, and this is a song that is literally telling Eric Clapton, like, hey, you're eating too many sweets and your teeth are gonna fall out. I'm not even joking. There is a song on the Beatles' White Album that is about Eric Clapton's dental health. I am not even kidding. Like, what? But again, the song sounds really great. I love that little line, we all know Obla Obla Da, like he's making fun of Paul's song. Like, again, there's just a lot of like literal subtle things like that. Like I said, John making fun of George's like Zen kind of lyrics, and then you got George making fun of Paul. And I found that was enjoyable. Then we move on to Cry Baby Cry, which is one of my favorite songs on this album, particularly on this side. I think the song is really great. I love, it's very kind of Lewis Carroll-esque nursery rhyme, and it's just got this really great sound and progression to it. It's a much more like kind of normal song after some of what we've heard, and it's the last normal song on the album, for the record, kind of. But I really like this song. It's just got a nice, and then the ending is sung by Paul. It's like, can you take me back where I came from? And that was just a scrapped concept from another song, and they just kind of put it at the end there. And again, it's just like a really cool sounding thing. And the album could end there, but it doesn't. And then we go on to Revolution 9, which is 8 minutes of noise, I guess I could put it. I'm not really sure how to explain this song other than it's not really a song. It's best listened to if you have surround sound, but outside of that, it's basically just a combination of street noise, studio outtakes, the members saying random things, and stock sound effects. And the whole centerpiece of what this stock sound effect is this bingo call of number 9, and that just gets looped. And then you've got like orchestral noises, band, you've got street noises, and then you've just got all these weird things that, John Lennon just going on all these like talks, I guess, like all these like random tangents. There's a part where he's listing out dance moves. There's just all this random stuff. There's like radio noise, there's babies crying. It's just absolutely batshit insane. There's no discernible melody. You can hear studio outtakes, you can hear parts where he was going right, which was an outtake from Revolution, that you can hear, the beginning of While My Guitar Gently Weeps. You can hear like just random outtakes in this song. And it is absolutely a sight to behold, or a sound to behold, I guess. Going on from there, we get, as the song kind of gets toward the end, it just kind of gets louder and like more insane as it goes on, and then it kind of like comes through with this very like high-pitched noise, which does hurt my ears because I have hearing sensitivity. I have sensitivity to everything, not just hearing, but that's kind of what the situation is. And I love, I love getting my ears blasted out, but besides that, the way this song ends is just so strange. You've got the sound of like running water, and then Yoko Ono comes in and starts talking, and then she says that the last line is "You become naked," and then you've got this sound of a soccer game. It's just like, it is so random. And now this song is absolutely bonkers. Now, of course, I don't think Paul and Ringo really wanted anything to do with this song. They didn't want it on the album. John was like, please. And this song is absolutely bonkers, and, they took a lot of, like, random noises and kind of put them together in a random way, which, it doesn't sound good. But it is interesting, and like as much as weird as the song is, I am glad I live in a universe where Revolution 9 exists, because yeah, it's weird, but I do think, there's a lot of, like, progressive rock that, took elements from that kind of thing and made them into actual songs. Just a specific example I can think of is, just, like, people talking, and they took, like, how they got, like, street noise and, like, studio outtakes, but, like, when Pink Floyd were making Dark Side of the Moon, like, they had people come in, they took people off the street and, like, interviewed them, and then, like, used that, to make actual songs. They had an actual melody going on. But then, it's the part, like, in Great Gig in the Sky where the guy's like, I am not frightened of dying, and, like, that whole thing, but it actually plays into the narrative of the album. It plays into that, they used it in an artistic way, whereas the Beatles were just kind of, like, putting random sounds together. But, again, I don't know if that kind of stuff would have been done. It became, like, a thing in progressive rock where, it was just, like, they would kind of use this stuff. And, again, the Beatles really, this experimental as shit. You've got, like, one of the first metal songs on this album. You've got this, like, going into that. And then we have the final song, which is Goodnight, which I don't like the song, but in the context of the album, you need something to return you to sanity. The reason I don't like the song is it's basically a lullaby that John wrote for his son, which is nice. He gave it to Ringo to sing, and I've heard the, like, demo version of just the piano, which is okay. This version is a complete orchestral nightmare. It sounds like When You Wish Upon a Star, but with much less competent singing. Ringo's performance here is very stiff. He doesn't scream his lungs out like he does on Don't Pass Me By. This song is just kind of weak in comparison. He just has this very stilted performance. He sounds fine, but it doesn't really deliver any kind of emotion. And that's kind of all there is to it. And it's just a very basic love song. And that's where the album ends. And, I'm kind of like, I don't like the song, but like, there was literally no other way it could have ended after the insanity that was Revolution 9. And at that point, I'm just pleased to have something nice on my ears after that high-pitched bit. And I mean, that's just something that I have issues with. There are other songs out there that do that to my ears, and just songs that I find to be unpleasant. I just hear stuff and I'm like, this is like actually unpleasant. It actually hurts my ears, so that's fun. But again, there's not really much else I can really say, after going into the track by track, kind of just like why this album is brilliant. Even the bad songs, everything just fits really well into this weird experimental yet somehow cohesive package, and I just love everything that's going on here, even though, it's super experimental. It's kind of down to earth, and a lot of the songs are very real, unlike Sgt. Pepper, where they're kind of putting on this, like, stage act, almost. And they're just kind of, like, random songs that they wrote, and, like, there are no cuts here. I mean, there were a few cuts, but, I mean, in terms of, like, they just put everything on this album. They're like, we don't even care if it's good, and I think it's honestly kind of a power move, because they were showing we're so famous and successful that we can release anything and people will buy it. Like, that is kind of a power move right there. So I think the next thing is, while I am glad that this album exists in its entirety, I've always kind of had, like, kind of a question, like, if this was a single album with 14 songs, how would the album go? Which songs do you keep? Which songs do you get rid of? And that's kind of like the question for me, is like, what songs deserve to stay? What songs have to go? And that's something that I've always thought about. I've always thought about this, and I think I decided on the songs that I would keep. I've decided on a decent order, but, like, let me know in the comments below. I'm actually really curious what songs you guys would keep. Make it 13 or 14 songs, preferably, for a single album, and try to order them in a decent way. This is my track list. Back in the USSR, Dear Prudence, Obla-di Obla-da, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Happiness is a Warm Gun, I'm So Tired, Long, 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 Birthday, Your Blues, Blackbird, Helter Skelter, I Will, Cry Baby Cry, Julia. However, yours might be different, and I would love to hear other people's track lists. So please leave that in the comments down below. If you were going to make the White Album a single album, what tracks would you include, and how would you order them? Now, that's about all I have to say about this album. Guys, let me know if you like this kind of longer video essay format, diving into some of my favorite albums, or just some albums that I think deserve to be dived into. And let me know if you want to hear this for any other Beatles albums, or like Dark Side of the Moon, or anything else like that. Just let me know if you want to hear me talk about that, and leave that in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys like this video and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.